I'm vertically challenged. My name's Aisling, and I'm an addict. I'm from CA-HOLLAND, and it's great to be here. I want to thank Nick and all the committee, and everybody is so friendly in CA-HOLLAND, so thanks a million. I was really honoured when Mike asked me to introduce him for his share tonight. I met Mike last year for the first time. He had a Unity Day because Mike is very active in service in the UK, and he put together a Unity Day, and it was an amazing time. But I was heavily pregnant at the time on my son, and Mike collected me from the airport, and he fed me, and he brought me to the hotel so I could sleep, and he just really put the hand out, like, you know. And for me, sometimes that's what service is. It's not about talking the program, it's the actions you take, and it's how you treat people. And for me, that was what I experienced with Mike. He puts the footwork in, you know, and his story is incredible. He's a brave man, and it's easy to trust God when everything's great and you have nothing, and you come in and you're on your arse and you have nothing at all. But when you have to face things that are really difficult, and you can get down on your knees and you can pray, I think it's really incredible. But I let Mike say the rest. So if you all join me in welcoming Mike.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike. I'm an addict. I ain't shouting, am I? Is that right? The sound level. Cool. Sweet. Yeah. Thanks to the committee for inviting me. Thanks to everyone. You know, it's been an amazing experience so far. Everyone's been really friendly. Occasionally, I go to quite a few of these things. You know, people are reluctant to come up and talk to you, but everyone's really coming up. It's been a great unity so far. It's been spoken. I'd like to thank everyone for that. I'd like to thank Roy. Is Roy here? No, it's not. He picked me up from the airport, and I'd just like to thank him. Hopefully, he might drop me off, but I think I've been a bit cheeky with that. But we shall see. God has a plan. Yeah, and I always get I always get fear come on me before I do a share, whether it's a meeting, a Unity Day, a convention, and I know that fear will go, you know. And I use it as sort of a metaphor for my life. You know, I sort of fumbled around in the dark until God kicked in and God takes over, and I believe that's very much what happens in my shares. I sort of fumble around, sort of start with a joke to calm myself, and I sort of hope God comes in and I try and carry a message. You know, the message I believe God's given me is no matter what happens in life, we don't have to use. That's also always based on a 12-step program as outlined in the big blue book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and in having a loving God in your life and trusting in that God. You know, the only guarantee that I believe there's on offer in these rooms is sobriety, but that's an amazing guarantee. No matter what happens in life, we don't have to use, and I mean worst case stuff. You know, not the stuff, you know, my washing machine broke or my cat ran away. I mean, real life stuff. And I'll start off a little bit about me. I come from a place in England called Essex. I don't know if anyone knows it. If you don't, go on YouTube, put in The Only Way is Essex as a TV show, that'll explain it. And I come from a loving family, you know, 2 parents. My dad was a black cab driver in central London. My mum was an accountant. My brother is the poster boy for working hard, go to school, go to university, and become the ultimate success, you know. And then there's me, and you know, having these perfect role models at home from a young age, you know, trying to install in me these morals of being honest, helping people, be kind and loving, not being selfish. You know, it just went in one ear and went out the other. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to be like them. I always wanted the easy option, and you know, I was very different from a young age, long before cocaine ever entered my life. And when I meet up today and I talk to my brother, and we go to the football together, you know, we have 2 very different recollections of how our upbringing was. I like to think we're hard, you know, poor, hard done by, you know, went without. And I used to think I used to have to wear these second-hand, torn, damaged clothes to school. And the truth is, as my brother explained, he doesn't suffer from this illness in any way, shape or form. I used to steal his designer tops like Gucci and Ralph Lauren out his closet and then wear them to school. But I interpret it as I'm wearing second-hand clothes. And as a family, we're very fortunate. We had a property in Spain, and we'd go to Spain like 6, 7, 8 times a year. And I would always moan and cry, throw a tantrum. They have to go to this place again and again and again. You know, my friends would have one holiday a year. They'd go to like America or Portugal or somewhere else, and I had to go, oh, not again. Please don't take me away for the 8th time this year. You know, very ungrateful and a complete twist on thinking. You know, I use these examples as I believe that the problem centers in my mind, and my thinking is my problem. You know, if you're in these rooms thinking the drugs and the substances are your problem, you're very much mistaken. The problem centers in your mind is your thinking, and we're the problem. And what the program of, you know, the 12 steps do is allow me to fix the problem of me. You know, I have a cocaine solution to the problem of Mike. You know, as I like to put it. And you know, growing up, we were spoilt children. You know, I wanted for nothing, but nothing was ever good enough. You know, I remember one year I got a Nintendo, but I wanted my brother's Sega, or I wanted I got a pair of Nikes. I wanted his Adidas. You know, nothing was ever good. It fixed me for like 30 seconds, and I want something else. And we in these rooms, we talk about a higher power for our own understanding. I choose to call that God today, you know. But the first instance of a higher power in my life was my dad. My dad I idolised. You know, he was everything to me. I used to bunk off school or skip school to go to the football with him, go to work with him, and he was everything I ever wanted to be. He was in the army, he fought for his country, boxed for his country, ran for his country, and so we did everything together, really inseparable. And then about 12 years of age, he got diagnosed with a disease, and basically what happened for the next 6 years, he suffered a lot. He got very bad very quickly, and it was a long drawn out illness, and he suffered a lot. We turned our conservatory into a hospital room, and now I am this young teenage boy, you know, this man that I idolise, this hero in my eyes, this God. You know, basically I'm feeding him, washing him, I'm taking him to the toilet. You know what I mean? My dad passed 2 days after my 18th birthday. You know, what killed him was kidney failure, and he died in the Royal London Hospital in East London. That was the final thing that killed him. I mentioned that, it's quite relevant to later on in my story. And, you know, I experienced and saw a lot of stuff that a young kid really shouldn't. All the stuff with my dad, you know, at school I was bullied a lot, you know, physically and mentally. But none of that stuff made me a drug addict. You know, it's my belief. It changed the way I felt and it changed the way I viewed the world, but it didn't make me a drug addict. You know what I mean? It didn't create the obsession, it didn't create the allergy. It changed the way I thought and felt, but it didn't create those things in me. And at my dad's funeral, you know, in here we talk about an inventory of step 4. One of my take to the grave seekers was I was on coke and drunk out of my mind at my dad's funeral. You know what I mean? And I made a complete scene of myself, and you know, I got up in front of everyone who was there, and I said I was just drunk out my nut, and I said no one's gonna ever hurt my mum. I'm always gonna protect her. You know, I'm the man of the family now. Like ignoring the fact I had a brother who's older. And, you know, and think what it turned out though was I was the one taking my mum to the grave. I was the one killing her, because that's when my addiction was about to get in full flow. And yeah, my dad died 2 days after my 8th birthday. You know, go back a year, I had my first experience with cocaine. You know what I mean? It was a place called, I remember my first line like it was this morning. It weren't. You know, it was a place called Epping Forest Country Club, which is it's an old famous club in Essex, East London. And it was in the back of my friend's Golf GTI with green paint. It was on the back of a Belinda Carlisle CD Greatest Hits. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not as young as I look. And basically, it was a small amount. You know, I was anti-drugs at this time. My friends all dabbled in it, and it was a small amount. You know, I should say this: when I was growing up, I was a really big kid. I weighed about 8 stone, 10 stone more than I do now, and I had low self-confidence, low self-esteem. You know, do the scariest thing in the world and couldn't talk to a girl. Girl even spoke to me, I'd go bright red and run away. You know, I could still do that today. And, you know, basically, I took that first little hit of cocaine and something happened here. You know, it just hit in here. And I liken it to do you have the Popeye cartoons? Yeah, Popeye, like Popeye eating the spinach. Suddenly this fat, chubby kid with no self-confidence. I was like 6 foot tall, muscular, the best dancer in the club, could do the scariest thing in the world and talk to girls. Life and soul of the party, wouldn't shut up. You know, you know, the truth is spent the next 12 years chasing that same high and I never got there. You know, I wasn't addicted off that first line. What started off, it was a champagne, cocaine lifestyle, parties, girls, all that stuff. But slowly but surely, what started off on a Saturday night, you know, a few drinks, a little bit of cocaine, going home, turned into a Saturday and a Sunday, you know. And very soon after that, it was a Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And then a local club opened up on a Thursday night and it was £1 a drink. So it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then I needed a bit of coke in the morning on a Monday to get through work. Then I had the best idea in the world, which was to buy a big bit on a Wednesday to see me through. And of course, you've got to test it. So without me even knowing, without having any consciousness, I was using every day, and it had me. I had no recollection of when, talking about crossing the line. I don't know when I crossed the line. I was probably out my nut on drugs at the time, but I just don't know when. And, I was quite a social guy. I had a good group of friends. We'd go out, we'd laugh, joke, but slowly but surely, the obsession was on me. You know what I mean? One line and I'd go straight home. You know what I mean? I became dangerously antisocial. You know what I mean? And what it turned into the last 5 years of my using was me on my own staring out of windows in cocaine-induced psychosis in my underpants. There's something about cocaine when I'm in it. I just want to get down to my underpants and stare out of windows. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And we laugh because we identify, especially the men in the room. I put the television on silent. I get really brave at one point and put it up to 1. I don't like that, so I turn it back down to silent. And I mean the stuff men watch when they're on their own, intoxicated. Yeah, I seal the door shut because I'm on my own in my house, but obviously someone's going to walk through. And then worst of all, the psychosis got so bad, I'd have trees in my garden, and the wind would obviously move the tree, but that's obviously the police. It's a SWAT team about to come and arrest me because I don't know what I thought was some big time cocaine dealer. It's like the only customer I ever served was myself. You know what I mean? And it was just this thing. I was having arguments with imaginary burglars. I'd be in my garden at 4 a.m. in my underpants with rolling pins, shouting at my house. That's where it took me. What started off as a party over a number of years got me to that. And I was a trader in the city. Basically my job was basically sales. I lie for a living. Shockingly, I was quite good at it. And I built up certain materialistic things, but slowly but surely they were leaving me. You know what I mean? And in the end, I was sitting in an empty house with a mattress, a beanbag chair, and a rather big TV. But yeah, and I say for the last 5 years of my using, I wanted to stop but couldn't stop. My nosebleeds, mini heart attacks. But my best thinking, what will solve all this? Another line of cocaine. The very thing destroying my life, that I thought was destroying my life, was the very thing I turned to. We talk about insanity, the insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. My insanity is I knew what it was going to do. I knew it wasn't going to be any different. I still did it. Absolute powerlessness. And, I didn't know there was a way out. I hadn't heard of the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. You know what I mean? And I accepted that was my fate. And yeah, the thing, my using wasn't glamorous. As I say, it was me on my own doing very disgusting things to myself and to others. And I basically lived in one room. I'd go to the toilet in that room and put it into Coke bottles. And then I'd get confused what's Coke and what's wee. So I'd probably drink a lot of wee. So just my truth. And I become a scumbag when I use. It's basically what it is. It's like, we all do it, and that's the thing. And we still think it's a party for one. And it's just insane when you think about it now. And yeah, I don't really go much more into my using because I want to get onto the good stuff. The reason why we're here, the reason of recovery, and there is a way out, there is a solution. And it was Thursday, September 11th, 2008. I did what all successful city boys, wannabe bad boy gangsters, whatever the fuck I thought I was, do. I turned up at my mum's house at 8 a.m, begging for help. This is a woman I stood up in front of everyone, saying I'm going to protect her, no one's ever going to hurt her, I'm going to look after her, I was taking her to the grave, and I knocked on her door 8:30 in the morning, and I broke her heart. Took 20 years off her life. Her face, I still see it now, and I'm glad I do. It's always a reminder what I can do to the people I love, and God bless that woman. She took me in, she fed me. At this point, my house had been repossessed because it's more important to sniff cocaine than pay the mortgage. And I had nothing left. I was in tens of £1,000s worth of debt. I'd been suspended from work. The girlfriend had left for the last time. And that was it, There was nothing, but my mum took me in, fed me, gave me some money to pay off the dealers. And what she did, God bless her, she Googled and she came up with the Cocaine Anonymous helpline. She phoned it, and later that afternoon, someone phoned me. He broke his anonymity. He says, no, I'm Jason, I'm a cocaine addict. And I thought my mum had paid him or told him the stuff I told her. And he said that. He goes, my name's Jason, I'm an addict. And he shared some truth with me. And that was the first time in my life I had a bit of ease and comfort. So another addict sharing his identification, that I wasn't the only one in the world doing this stuff. You know, staring out of windows, stealing off my family, doing these disgusting things to myself and to others. And he said, sounds like you're... I apologise, I do swear quite a bit. I try and notch it down. But he says, you're fucked, aren't you? And I said, yeah. He goes, do you want some help? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, there's a meeting tonight in a place called Southwood, which is obviously in my local area. I'll come and pick you up and I'll take you. My desire to stop using at that point was zero. I said, no, sorry, I'm busy. Don't know what I was going to do, but said, no, I'm busy. And I said, oh, and he goes, okay, mate, I've got your number, keep in touch. I said, all right then. And basically what I did that night, I did what I did the last 5 years that night. I got on it. I'm back in the same house where I grew up in. I'm in the same bedroom I grew up in. And I'm sniffing cocaine. My mum crying her eyes out to sleep next door. I don't want to do these things, but the drugs had me. They become more important than my family. You know what I mean? And Monday the 15th of September, guy Jason phoned me and I went to my first meeting. It was a meeting in Gants Hill in East London. And it was actually behind a nightclub, which I used to use in. And he met me outside in his van. And he explained the structure of the meeting. And he goes, a few things are going to happen. He goes, one, men are going to want to hug you and give you their phone number. Don't let that freak you out. Freaked me the fuck out. You know what I mean? I actually said to one guy, so deluded at the time, was, you know, I'm not going to give you a number, I'm not gay, and you're not going to have sex with me. Fuck, who would want to go near me? Man, woman, or animal? No one would. I was in such a disgusting state. But, you know, men were hugging me. It freaked me out. But you know what? It felt comfortable in a weird way. It was the hug I'd always been looking through. Like, I'd come home. And what I remember from that meeting, it's not my sobriety date, was men were laughing. They were sharing experience. They're sharing their struggle. They're sharing their truth. And there was laughter in the room. That's why I like to use laughter in my shares. You know, I spent 12 years staring out windows being miserable. I didn't come into recovery to be miserable, although I can be quite a lot because I'm like that. But yeah, so I went into the meeting. Oh, he said, you're going to hear the word God. Don't let it freak you out. That freaked me out. So everything freaked me out, basically. I sat in a meeting. As I say, people sharing his laughter in the room. I remember a guy, I've got 18 months. Some guy got 9 months or 6 months or 30 days. And I got up and got me white carry in my newcomer's chip. And it was like, I don't know, it was like everyone was clapping, cheering, we need you. You know, keep coming back. Got my white chip, everyone's hugging me. You know, and I got my newcomer's pamphlet. And I thought, there's something here, something touched me there. And the seed was planted that night. But I left that meeting, you know, I went home, showed my mum my white key, and then I met my dealer. I was using again, you know, and I got a blue book that time. And I don't call this a relapse. I hadn't opened the book. I hadn't become a program of action. I just went to a meeting. So basically, I continued using. It was getting progressively worse and worse and worse. More the larger and larger amounts. And I didn't have a job to pay for it. You know what I mean? God knows where I thought I was going to pay for this stuff. But went through to Christmas. I was going to the occasional meeting, popping my head in there, you know, getting there 5 minutes before it starts, leaving before the Serenity Prayer, you know, using in meetings. I've done that. That's not a pleasant using experience at all. You know, I think I'm being clever, but I'm sweating nuts off. I'm a big fat fella, you know, bright red, sweaty, my jaw going. I think they don't know. They knew. It was later explained to me. But you know what? Fast forward the tape, and then we get round to January, and things got really on top of me. And I woke up a Tuesday morning in early January at my mum's house, you know, come downstairs, my brother's there, my mum's in tears. And, you know, they did the most loving thing they could ever do for me. And they told me I had 2 weeks to get out of their life, and they meant it. My brother said, like, you're killing yourself, you're killing us, and we can't watch it anymore. Go and die. You know what I mean? They'd had enough. They had enough of the lies, they had enough of the sorries. I'll change. You know, I was just killing them. You know, in the book, the To the Wives chapter about turning them into neurotic, I turned my mum into neurotic. Countless girlfriends, but my mum, you know, she had mental health problems, she had physical health problems, all caused by me. You know what I mean? I did that to my mother, the woman I love and I swore I'd protect. You know, that's what I do when I use. And they told me I had 2 weeks to get out of their life. They don't want me there when they come back. If I'm there, I'm going to be physically removed by the police. They'd had enough and they wiped their hands on me. They left. You know, we talk about consequences. I've written a book about the consequences, you know. Give sufficient consequence, I can't stop. Give me consequence, I just get worse because I can't deal with them consequences. You know what I mean? So any sane, rational person who thinks straight, you know what, I've been to these meetings as a solution to my drug problem, not knowing it's a life problem. You know what I mean? My family just disowned me. I'm going to be homeless. I've got no money. Let's get on with this recovery stuff. No, so I phone the dealer, I get more drugs, and I smash myself. You know, for 3 days. You know, and I come round on a Friday, you know, thing like that, and I believe this is where God enters my life. You know, as I say, I come round on a Friday early afternoon, and I get to my home group, Loughton, in Essex, on a Friday night, and the guy Jason, who took me to my first meeting, who called me off the helpline, who I hadn't spoke to since that Monday meeting, was up there doing the share at the front. You know, and I got there late. You know, I sat at the back. You know what I mean? The meeting was really strong back then. It was like 80, 100 people every week. And sat at the back, didn't hear the share, and it got to share in time. You know, people shared, and then something come over me. You know what I mean? And certain people call it the step before the step. You know, I conceded to my innermost self that I was an addict. You know what I mean? I said, I can't do internal dialogue. I can't do this, and I need help. And something came over me and said, "My name's Mike. I'm an addict," and I burst into tears in front of the room. You know, I cried my eyes out on my hands and knees for about 5 or 10 minutes, and through the tears and through the snot and all that, I said, "Can someone help me? Can someone please help me? I'm going to die. I can't go on." You know what I mean? That was my, you know, for that moment of clarity. You know, that's when God awoken me. I believe God gets awoken from within. You know what I mean? And help was given, and I haven't used since that day. And that was the 10th of January 2009, which makes me a little bit 8.5 years sober now. And what did I do from that day? I went to an AA meeting in East London on the Monday. I got a sponsor. You know what I mean? At that point, he spoke to his sponsor, and they spoke. They didn't think I had time to go through a book study at that point, so they got me straight into inventory, straight into prayer, straight into a step 4. And he came round my mum's house on the Wednesday morning at 7 in the morning, took 2 days off work, unpaid. He was a black cabbie up London as well, so I related to him because of my dad. And we went through the steps. You know, that's just my experience of going through the steps. I went through very quickly. As I say, I needed to be connected. I don't know if that's the sign to make me stop or just think, but I'll just say it's the microphone. The music plays, I'll walk off. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I needed to be in infantry, I needed to be in prayer, meditation, and I needed to begin a step process and a program of action. You know what I mean? So I had 2 full days of the steps. At the end of the second day, I was given a list of amends and told to go fuck off and make these amends. You know, it's ain't God's time. You've got 2 weeks, go do these. And I was straight into action. You know what I mean? He made me get service at 2 meetings. I got service. You know, I never used to talk in meetings, so I got the literature commitment. So I had to speak. You know, I was so scared to speak in meetings. I started with the preamble of the alcohol reading. So it got me to speak. You know what I mean? It got me a voice in CA. And, you know, I don't really go into aspects of my experience with actual steps. I believe, especially back home, sort of preconceived ideas and conceptions of what the steps actually are. My best advice is just do them. You know what I mean? And it changed my life, you know. What I did see in my 4 was every resentment, every fear. Actually, one thing I saw was the common problem. I'm the problem. There it is in black and white. Every job, every relationship, every resentment, there was me. There's me and my mistake. You know what I mean? It woke me to the truth that I'm the problem. And I need to embark on a program of action that helps me deal with that problem. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's like it. I assume it's the same. You know, you have that little chat with your sponsor before you go through the work. Are you ready to go to any lengths? Are you done? I've never had, when I take guys through the work, no one's ever said no to me, but I assume I meant it. I said yes, because I've gone to any lengths. And, you know, he made me promise him that, oh, you want to leave? Yeah. Oh. Sorry. That's all right. Yeah. Oh, sorry, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. He made me promise him, and it's the debt of gratitude I still pay back to Cocaine Anonymous today, that when I was ready, I'd take guys through the work and show them what I was shown. And that's a beautiful experience. And he made me some promises. He said, 1, you never have to feel this way again, and I haven't. He said, 2, you never have to use or drink ever again to the day you die, and I haven't. And he also made the 3rd promise, which is really relevant, and what I've gone to speak to now, which is the miracle of recovery. And no matter what happens in life, you won't use. And that's been my direct experience of working the program of action as outlined in the big book, doing service and trusting in the God of my own understanding, which is God for me. And I mentioned my dad got diagnosed with a disease when I was 12 that slowly took him to the grave. That was diabetes. He had undiagnosed diabetes for 20 years. He had a lot of complications. He had half his leg amputated. He went blind in his right eye and countless other things. And the final thing that killed him was complete kidney shutdown. And he died, as I say, 2 days after my 80th birthday in the Royal London Hospital in East London. 18 months clean and sober. I had a double hemorrhage in both eyes, a quadruple hemorrhage, because one hemorrhage isn't enough. And I was in the hospital, I was in Moorfields Eye Hospital, and they said I'll go 92% chance I'm going to go blind within 2 years. You know what I mean? When we talk about having a higher power of our own understanding, a trust and an unshakable bond with God, that's all right when it's sunny and sunshine. When the shit's in the fan, this is where your faith in God's going to be tested, and the fault to use never came back. I sat in that doctor's office, crying my eyes out, petrified, full of fear. But my first thought was to phone my sponsor, and that's who I phoned. You know what I mean? I couldn't see, so he came to the hospital. I couldn't see to go to meetings, so the meeting came into the hospital. I couldn't see to do inventory, so I dictated my inventory. The book was read to me. You know what I mean? The fellowship turned up for me in a big, big way. You know what I mean? And to deal with that fear, basically the treatment I needed to stop the hemorrhaging and stop further damage was a course of injections in my eyeballs, which again isn't a pleasant experience. I should have said this earlier. Do you know there's a saying, I don't know if you have it here, but there's a saying back home, my worst day sober is better than my best day using. That's the biggest load of bollocks I've ever heard in my life. I won't talk about my best day using because there's no place in these rooms. But actually, the eye thing you hear in a minute isn't my worst day in sobriety. But that weren't a great day, you know what I mean? But, I turned to my sponsor, I turned to the tools I've learned in the book, I turned to the steps. There's a fantastic, everyone, I know the focus is on the first 164 pages, but for me, the chapter Acceptance is the Answer at the back of the book is an amazing chapter, the way that's written. Page 416 and 417, about trying to change the situation, change me to meet the situation. Nothing happens in God's world by mistake. I have a firm belief in that stuff. And basically, I embarked on this course of injections once every 3 weeks, and slowly but surely, I did what I did. I stepped up into service, There's me in this dire health situation, we take our eyesight for granted, but it's scary shit when that goes. And I couldn't drive, so people would take me to meetings and stuff. And I stepped up to the service. I still got to my home group. I still did service. I still tried as best I could to help people. Just the biggest tool I ever learned is just pick up the phone when that head's on you and say, "How are you?" Simple things like that. And basically over time, I basically had the injections for 4 years. They told me I'd have to have them for life. And where am I at today with that stuff in my eyes? In my medical file for my eyesight, because there is another one, it says there's no medical explanation for Mr. Epstein's eyes repairing themselves to the state they are today. You know what I mean? I have no medical treatment to repair my eyesight, only to stop the damage. I can now read 5 lines higher on an eyesight chart than I could then. There's no medical explanation. What other explanation is there apart from God? You know what I mean? That's where my faith was tested, that's where God answered. I believe God got me through that things because of the past 18 months and then the course of the injections, what I did, where I dedicated my life to helping people. I dedicated my life to God. What would God do? You know what I mean? When we do those 11 questions of an evening, some evenings, what could God do better? Try and act in God's will, not Mike's will. Because when I act in Mike's will, today, 8.5 years sober, things go wrong very quickly. You know what I mean? But, I sit here today, I haven't had an injection for 2.5 years. It's amazing. I was told I have to have them for life. You know what I mean? I sit here like, it's the only explanation, and that's what I believe God can do for me in recovery. He not only can take my drink and drug away from me, he can give me the power to get through these dark times, and come out the other side, in a better condition I went into them. You know what I mean? My eyes repairing themselves, it's amazing. And I got through that, and I thought, that's it now. I've beaten addiction, I've beaten blindness, I've got God in my life. Life's going to be sunshine and rainbows. Here comes the lottery win. Here comes the model girlfriend, the Ferrari, the mansion. Life's going to be sweet. God had other plans. on the 1st of April 2015, this is quite important actually, I don't know why I left it out. The hemorrhage was caused by me being with untreated diabetes. What killed my dad? And I said he lost the eyesight in his right eye. I had that happen to me, and that's what caused it. Type 2 diabetes, and on April the 1st, 2015, I mentioned earlier twice actually what killed my dad. I walked into hospital for my annual diabetic checkup on the 1st of April, and I didn't come out for 10 days. I was admitted straight into intensive care under critical watch, and I was diagnosed with complete renal failure, kidney shutdown. I was transferred to the Royal London Hospital in East London, given that diagnosis in the same hospital where my dad died. I remember I turned to my mum, the doctors talking to my mum and my brother, and they said, this is history repeating itself, he's going to die. And they give me, and they give me 6 weeks to live. They said, unless direct immediate medical intervention, you'll be dead within 6 weeks. My potassium level was close to 3 times above fatal. They say it today to me now when I see them guys. It was a miracle you're even alive at that point. You know what I mean? And I always thought in recovery, what would you do given the worst case news? I believe a short-term chronic diagnosis that you're going to die. Would I use? You know what I mean? What would I do spending them last few days or last few weeks? Turns out I didn't. I didn't die either. It's not a ghost talking in front of you. But if I was, there's a few other people I'd like to haunt anyway. But and basically that was a Saturday morning I got that diagnosis. It was Easter weekend, and people should know that nothing happens on the NHS in the UK on bank holidays. And I was basically left for that news for 4 days. And what do you do when you're told that? And at that point, I was tied to a lot of machines to keep me alive. I had about 8 drips in me, and my mum and brother left home. And I didn't know what to do. I hadn't told anyone in the fellowship at that point. And I thought, what do I do? I wasn't thinking straight, and I put it on Facebook. Because I like likes, and the fellowship turned up for me. I put a status, what's what happened? Please pray for me. I had hundreds, I think well over 1,000 messages from around the world, all people in Cocaine Anonymous, because of the service I did, because of the conventions I'd visited, the friendships I'd made, and the world fellowship turned up for me. You know what I mean? And that blew me away. And there were these nurses in the hospital, and on the Saturday, and there were these African Christian ladies. I'm Jewish by birth, I'm not Christian or religious in any way, shape or form. You know what I mean? And I was talking to them because they could hear me praying. Maybe saying the Serenity Prayer and things like that. And she goes, "Oh, you're Christian?" I said, "No." And she goes, I explained the situation. She was the night thing, and they had a prayer group that they do, like in the night time, because not much goes on. There's 5, 6 ladies, about 2, 3 in the morning. They came into the room, they unplugged me, and we prayed. They say don't pray for selfish things. I prayed not to die. And I'm glad I did, because it obviously heard my prayers. And it was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And then that sense there, I believe God come to me, and I had that little sense of even comfort. You know what? Might be all right here. You know what I mean? And I believe this is another example of God. I put on Facebook, and I got a message from a guy I went to school with, I haven't seen for 20 years, and I bullied him at school, saying, "Sorry to hear about your situation. I see you in the Royal London. I can help you." So I ignored it. And I woke up Tuesday morning, and I was told I'll be having an operation on Wednesday to fit dialysis tubes, basically tubes going in your neck and out your chest. And this guy was sitting at the end of my bed. The guy said he can help me. I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "I said I can help you." And he turned out to be the head radiologist at the Royal London Hospital, and he was going to do my operation the next morning. He doesn't do the operations. He trains the consultants and the doctors to do them. I believe that was God put this guy in my life. I immediately regretted bullying him. And I made a direct amends there and then. And but you know what? Knowing someone and having a familiar face put me at ease, because I'm petrified of what's about to happen to me. I'm doing the fear prayer, I'm doing the acceptance, nothing's shifting. I'm just petrified, because I don't know if I'm going to be alive the next week. Anyway, I'm on the operating theatre. For some reason, they give you a local anaesthetic for this stuff. It's really weird. He's about to open my chest up. He's got a scalpel in hand. I said, I really regret bullying you now. And he said, this is his words, the head radiologist goes, "Don't worry, this is where I get my own back." But you know, like I'm a quite a jovial, jokey person. That put me at ease, and the operation was a success. I immediately went on to kidney dialysis. That worked, thank God, and that got my bloods down to a livable level. And basically, they said I need a kidney transplant. I didn't have a live donor, so I'd have to go on the national list. And there's about 7,500 people on the national list, and the average wait is 6 to 8 years. And I went on dialysis. And basically, what kidney dialysis is, you're tied to a machine 3 times a week for 5 hours to be kept alive. It doesn't improve your health, and it's fucking hard, man. It was hard, man. I don't want to go into the specifics, but again, what do? I turn to my tools I've learned in recovery. I turn to what the book teaches me. I turn to the guidance of God and my sponsor. You know what I mean? Every Thursday, I'd still get to my treasury commitment at South Woodford. You know, and my sponsors would come into the hospital because you're conscious through dialysis, and we'd read the book and we'd chat and we'd talk about stuff, you know. And I still did service. I still thought of others. I still helped others the best I could. You know what I mean? And again, the fellowship turned up for me in a big way, and word had got around the fellowship, especially in the States, you know, people asking me, you know, praying for me, prayer groups set up. It was absolutely amazing. And I got out of the danger zone. I got the all clear. You're not going to die, but your next you got to write off the next 6 to 8 years of your life as pretty shit, because, you know, you're going to be on dialysis. But, you know, even if it's 8 years, you'll be in your early 40s, you still have a normal life as best you can. And yeah, basically what happened, I went on dialysis, and then I went on the transplant list the end of September. I had all the tests approved. I went on the national list. So I began my 6 to 8 year wait, you know, and getting acceptance over that stuff, you know, making my peace with God, making my peace with death is all stuff I had to do. But I was defiant. I wasn't going to let that beat me. You know, I had a power in my life greater than myself that would allow me to still go to conventions. I got to the convention out in Spain in the October. I'd still go to UK conventions. I'd still live my life, you know what I mean? Because I had that power in my life. You know, I wasn't going to let this stuff beat me. I had God with me. And December the 17th, you know, 11 weeks later, after I went on a transplant list, I got a call at 4 in the morning from the hospital. I'm not one of them who's going to answer the phone to you at 2 or 3 in the morning. My phone goes off at 11 and don't come on till 6 in the morning. That's just me. And I left my mobile on that night, and I never do it. Probably the first time I can actually remember doing it. And I thought, who the fuck's that calling me at 4 in the morning? I was about to have a go at them. I didn't recognise the number. I said, hello. They said, Mike. I was like, who the hell's this? They go, oh, it's the Royal London Hospital. I said, oh, what's up? They go, can you come in? I said, why that? They go, it's a small chance of a kidney. And I thought, oh, so basically I rushed to the hospital, and what had happened, the lady on the list, 6 years, they started her on medication the previous evening, which meant she would reject the organ. So 5 guys were called up, 4 off the national, and I was the top of the local, because I lived within an hour of the Royal London Hospital, and got there at 5 in the morning, had 1 million blood tests, 1 million cross matches, and we just left. You know, I got told not to eat after midday. I was nil by mouth. Waited 2, 3, 4. My brother and my mum were with me. 7, 8, 9, and you know, I'm sitting there, nothing heard anything. Basically, we all wrote it off. They just haven't told you, it's someone else. And then, yeah, God came in over a miracle at 1:45 to midnight, 11:45. The surgeon walks in, throws me a gown, said, the kidney's yours. You're going into surgery. You know, my kidney transplant December the 18th at 3:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? They told me a bit 6 to 8 year wait. I was on the list 11 weeks. Ask anyone in renal medicine, it's unheard of. You know, I can't go to Africa, I can't go to Thailand and buy one in 11 weeks. And we were thinking about that until they sat me down and explained black market organs aren't a good thing. But you know what? I had my transplant 3:30 in the morning, and it's a life-saving operation. You know what I mean? I've had the perfect recovery then. You know, the week before Christmas, what better Christmas present could I ever have? You know what I mean? I've won the lottery that day. These things don't happen. You know what I mean? I believe it was God giving me that miracle. You know what I mean? And basically what happened, a 50-year-old boy in the north of England had passed, and his family donated his body to organs. You know, I had the kidney, someone else had the kidney. 8 or 10 people's lives were saved off that boy. You know, I'm forever grateful. You don't get to know who he is. You get to write a gratitude letter to the family. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful, beautiful thing they did, and I'm forever grateful to them. They're in my prayers morning and night daily. And it's been the perfect recovery. You know what I mean? Perfect recovery. You know, and it's just, I can't, my words don't gratitude to be able to have a living full and healthy life today after everything I've been through. You know what I mean? And it's only, I believe, down to God, and it's only down to believe dedicating my life to service in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous. You know what I mean? These rooms have loved me when I didn't love myself. You know, when I've acted an idiot, no one's ever told me to not come back. They've always allowed me back in with open arms and a hug. You know what I mean? And the life beyond my wildest dreams has come true. You know, that's what's on offer in the rooms. There's so much more on offer in these rooms than just sobriety. Sobriety is just a tip. Based on that sobriety and a program of action, working them 12 steps and the traditions on a daily basis as best you can in your life. You know, I like the word limitless. The only thing that holds me back today is me and my thinking. There's nowhere in the world, there's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it and work for it. You know what I mean? I've travelled the world in Cocaine Anonymous. As I say, my world shrunk to one room in my house staring out of windows. You know what I mean? This is another, I've made a list of countries where Cocaine Anonymous is present. This is another one off the list. I've booked to go to another one next year in Canada. You know what I mean? I hopefully get out to South Africa. You know, not this year, but there are things I want to do, and I will achieve that. Because what I've achieved in the last 80 years is nothing, well, it is a miracle. It's the only way to explain it. So what else can I go on and do with this stuff in my life, with God in my life? As long as I continue to do service, continue to do others, you know, and continue, not just in the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, but my family. You know what I mean? My colleagues at work. Because I was one who used to sit at work, get paid a good salary, but look at the football websites all day or Facebook. You know what I mean? It's about being of service, being of use to my fellow. You know, what can I do for others is my primary thought. Because if I do stuff for others, good stuff happens to me without me even doing it. You know what I mean? As I say again, there's no medical explanation for my eyes. You know what I mean? I received the miracle of a kidney transplant, 6 or 7 years earlier than they told me it would. You know what I mean? And I think if you're sitting in this room querying the belief in a higher power, querying the belief in God, please, if you don't believe in God, believe that I believe, and believe that my story shows you there is something out there looking after me if we do the right thing. You know what I mean? And, my spiritual awakening was of the educational variety. I hear people in meetings back home talking about, Jesus come down, I five them, they see burning bushes, and good luck to them people. If they've seen that, fantastic. But that's not my experience, The appendix at the back of it talks about, the educational, my thoughts and my actions. I don't think and act the same. My first thought isn't often the thought I go with, because that's Mike's thinking. And Mike's thinking is so fucked up still. It's a lot better than it was. But as I said earlier, it can still take me to places very quickly that I don't want to be in. And, I'm a subscribe to this stuff for life. The stuff I've received, why would I go anywhere, I just continue to do what I did in the first few weeks, help others, take guys through the work, be of service, and that's basically it, and I know when I start rambling, it's time to wind it up because Mike takes over and I just want to entertain you, and that's completely wrong. But, if you're new to this fellowship, please stay around. We're saying, don't leave before the miracles happen, because miracles happen. You know what I mean? And get some service. I'm a massive educator. I've just rotated out of the UK Unity chair. You know what I mean? Be of service to this fellowship, because this fellowship survives on the people in it. You know what I mean? And, just to be in Holland, I went and had an hour's quiet time earlier. That amount of gratitude just come over me to be in Holland at my first Holland convention. I was out in Seattle at World Convention last week. You know what I mean? It just blows me away. I can do this stuff because I'm free today. You know what I mean? I have freedom to travel this world. I've reached that position of neutrality. I can go to wet places. I used to sit in meetings early on thinking my life's over. I know now it just began. I didn't have a life before Cocaine Anonymous. I had a sad, pitiful, miserable existence. Killing myself and people I love. Today, and I've been able to go back and make amends for a lot of stuff. Best thing I ever did in recovery was make a graveside amends to my dad. It's beautiful stuff. I talk about that experience actually. It's just come to mind. It was a grey day at my dad's cemetery, and the light opened up and parted and shone on his grave. 3 old ladies, I didn't see it at the time, but 3 old ladies come and said it. You're illuminated, they said to me. So watching it, just beautiful moments like that. I'm at peace with myself today. I like myself. I had all that self-loathing. Oh, you're fat, you're bald, you're ugly, all that stuff. I lost my hair quite early. It was unfortunate. But, it's just an overwhelming sense of gratitude to be here. And I say, please believe. There's nothing we can't achieve. There's nothing we can't get through and remain sober. hopefully you don't get anything from my story. Just think, no matter what happens in life, we do not use if and only if you work a program of action as outlined in the 12 steps, and I hope someone's got something from that chair. If you haven't, there's plenty of other amazing speakers. There's a few guys on the speaker thing that I really admire and really look up to. It's absolutely amazing lineup. So that's me done. So thank you for listening, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Wow. That's a pretty good way to start this convention, I think. Thank you very much for your story. Thank you. So this promises to be a very, very good convention this weekend, guys. Thank you. So we passed the buckets for the 7th tradition, and I want to ask the person who has the tradition to come up here to read the traditions. And please be quiet while the tradition's being read.
Hello, I'm Kees, I'm an addict. Enthousiast hoor. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon CA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in a group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. 3. The only requirement for CA membership is a desire to stop using cocaine and all other mind-altering substances. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or CA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the addict who still suffers. 6. A CA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the CA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every CA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Cocaine Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. CA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Cocaine Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the CA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, television, and films. 12. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Thanks.
Thank you. Then I ask somebody to come up here for reaching out.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Peter. I'm a recovered addict. Mike, thank you for your share. Reaching out. I made it into this program because someone else worked that 12 step on me. Someone passed it on to me. Someone was out there after they got clean and sober, caring about others. I need to never ever forget that. Had they simply gone on with their lives and forgotten about people like me who were still out there using and suffering, I wouldn't be here today. My gratitude begins with that fact. It is with that gratitude in mind that I reach out to others, especially the newcomers. I need to have them in my life. That is where my spirituality begins. For me, spirituality comes from caring about others. I have found that the more I focus on improving the quality of the lives of others, the less I am into myself and my will. I feel a freedom and peace from within. The gifts I am beginning to receive in my life are greater than I could have ever imagined. Something else I have done is that I have forgiven myself. I have forgiven myself for being an addict. I have forgiven myself for all the damage I did to my life, to my physical health, and to my career and finances. But most of all, I have forgiven myself for all the horrible, negative, and unloving things I have felt about myself. It was not until I offered and accepted my own forgiveness that I was truly able to grow in my sobriety.
Right. And then I'd like to ask a moment of silence for the addict who still suffers. Thank you. I forgot to ask for the promises. Would you please come up and read the promises? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Yannick, I'm an addict. My English is not so good, but I will give it a try. The promises. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
So this was this for this moment. I want to ask everybody to join hands in a circle, and maybe Mike, you can lead us into the serenity prayer.